Well, the election is getting closer every time we turn around, and more candidates are entering that race. Steve Laffey is one of those. He is the former mayor of Cranston, and now he's running for the White House. Steve joins us now to talk about his presidential campaign. Steve, thanks for being with us.
Jackson, so great to be on with you. I am running for you. I am running to stop what has happened to younger people financially and otherwise. I have 6 kids, and that's really why we'll get into it, but that's why I'm running. So I'm excited to talk to younger people.
Well, again, thanks for doing this. And, a lot of other candidates have the name recognition, like Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, perhaps Tim Scott if he decides to run. How do you break the ice and allow people to know who you are and kind of get your name out there?
Yeah, one I'm running because I'm the most qualified person. And if you ask why Nikki Haley, for example, is running, you'll hear that she's the daughter of immigrants and her son is, having trouble buying a home. That's not why I'm running. I am running because I am a financial expert. Harvard Business School at 22, helped run a major financial firm, the largest in the South, successfully financially sold at the peak of the market, turned around single-handedly the worst situation in any city in America for 10 years in 2002, the most rapid turnaround from near bankruptcy in Cranston, Rhode Island, while I was the mayor. I taught the top finance course at the University of Rhode Island. I made a movie called Fixing America, which told people financially in 2011 what's going to happen today. So my bona fides, including my book, Primary Mistake through Penguin Books, and I've been through the ringer with the Republican Party, but my knowledge is what's going to flip this toward my way. We have the internet, we have you, and we have the reasons that I'm running to fix and modernize Social Security where other candidates say don't touch it. That'd be Donald Trump, the Speaker of the House McCarthy, the governor of Florida. Nikki Haley says she wants to raise the retirement age. She doesn't know what age. She doesn't know when. She doesn't know what it means. Go to stevelaffey.com and see what I'm doing. We got to change the Federal Reserve so there's no inflation. I'm the only candidate who seems to understand the Federal Reserve. I'm the only candidate who correctly said when I ran that we're having a financial crisis 25 seconds into my announcement at stevelaffey.com. A month later, SVB Bank went bankrupt. Other people say it's because they're woke, like the governor of Florida. That's not correct. It went broke because it mismatched assets and liabilities. This is what I do, folks. I know more about education than anybody running. I've got 6 kids. I personally homeschooled the last 3. I put them up in Catholic schools, private schools, public schools. I became radicalized against public schools after in 2007. So my knowledge base and what I've accomplished with it is far superior than people telling you they're running because they better know. But you're right, Jackson. If it's a popularity contest, if we're still doing the celebrity thing, and we're going to get the best known person to be president, so be it. But then there's no hope for the Jacksons of the world at 19 or the Jacksons of the world at 40, because we're going broke.
And kind of going back to what I was just mentioning, you seem to have the qualifications, but it's that name recognition that's just not as substantial as someone like Donald Trump. So again, what do you do to overcome those people?
Well, I do it the way Herman Cain did it, who became a friend of mine. Another plan of mine, the 999 plan. Nobody knew who Herman Cain was. He went 4 months. He became friends with me. He told me he went 4 months, no one talked to him. And then one day in September in Florida, boom, he was off to the races for 3 months. And he told me the mistakes he made and how not to make them. So it's just so people know, in case you've forgotten, there's this thing called the internet. And people can find out about other people rather quickly. So I'm not that worried about that. I'd much rather be like I did at Morgan Keegan, the firm that I was the president of and ran. By the way, I was the stock picker for the 5 years of that firm and was the best stock picker in America, according to the Wall Street Journal. I'd rather be a small growth stock today and look where I'm going to be in 6 months than judge me where I am today, which, by the way, is on Good Morning America, Daily News as the breakout candidate, Newsweek taking on Donald Trump, Armstrong Williams national show. It's not like we're not doing anything, but I want to talk to people like you and the people listening to the show, because they've got to rise up against the people my age, and not violently, but they've got to rise up and say, enough. I want my Social Security one day. I'm paying into it. So I've got to make them understand, but crossing the chasm is what I have to do, and it'll happen or it won't happen. I don't think anybody needs to worry about it. But when I meet people, they know that I offer something different. My website, stevelaffey.com, is drastically different than Nikki Haley's, drastically different than Donald Trump's or Asa Hutchinson, who doesn't really have one, or any of the other people. There's nothing there, Jackson. They just want your money. You could spend 100 hours at my website. You could spend an hour on Ariel Sharon watching me do a TV show on it, if you want to. I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying that I put everything out there in depth. And if that's going to matter finally in America, the way it did in Cranston, Rhode Island, in a microcosm, when people were panicked, then all of a sudden everybody will know who I am.
When you look at the current administration, what is your reaction to how Joe Biden is running the country? And also, what are you planning to change? I know there's a lot of information available on your website, but give us some bullet points. What are the things that you hope to implement?
I feel very sad. It is obvious that, and I say this is all due deference to any president, that President Biden is not up to the job. His mental facilities are diminishing. He's the leader of the free world. He shouldn't be there. Now, the Democratic problem is that they don't really have a bench of qualified people, so they don't know what to do. But I feel saddened that the America looks like this today. For you young people, again, they're always supposed to fix the roads, and right, but they never do. They're always supposed to take this money. They wasted $8 trillion of money under the Trump administration, which no conservatives like to talk about. And now they're wasting another 3.6 trillion so far under the Biden administration. So what would I do? I do exactly what I say I'm going to do. I do one thing at a time, fix a giant problem, and move to the next one. So if and when I was president, we would then fix, modernize, and strengthen Social Security, not ignore it, because it's the biggest underfunded liability we have at $61 trillion. So stevelaffey.com has the plan, but Jackson, you're going to get a new plan. You're going to get 5 times as much. You're going to be invested for 40, 45 years in an account that you own but can't touch. One computer will put it in a worldwide basket of stocks. The people 47, could they get less? They could. The people who are retired are going to get what we said. And over time, that unfunded liability goes down to zero. I wrote a paper about this in economics in 1983, Jackson, at Bowdoin College. I know what I'm talking about. Next, we'll change the tax code. I love the 999 plan. It was Herman Cain's plan. And by the way, I wish I was Alexander Graham Bell. I wish I was a great inventor. I'm a businessman, a financial expert who has a gift of grabbing the best plan, the best people, bring them in, and putting it to work. The 999 plan is half a flat tax, half a fair tax, a little bit of a wealth tax. It's simple. It'll collect a lot more money. We'll do that next. Then we'll go to the Federal Reserve and say, you guys cannot be doing what you're doing. I wrote a little paper today. There's no shame left in America, Jackson. If you and I were at the Federal Reserve, I hope that if we were supposed to keep inflation at 0, but then said 2, and it ran at 8.5, I think we would resign. I think we would walk in and say, I'm really sorry, I screwed this up. They don't. By the way, that's the corruption part that's seemingly legal that has to end. I'll give you an example. If all U.S. senators, all congressmen, and the president, including myself, held all of their assets in U.S. dollars, all of it in savings banks, you think the dollar would be strong or weak, Jackson? I think it'd be strong. You think they paid interest on it or keep it at 0? I think they paid interest on it. I don't think they'd ever do this again. See, if you just change the incentives to get what you want, you get what you want. So these are some of the things I would do initially.
You talked a lot about the economy, but what about foreign relations, our relationship with other countries? A lot of people think that China is one of our biggest threats. What would you do differently, and how do you kind of bring foreign relations to a good spot?
Number one, I am the only person who in 2005, running for the U.S. Senate, who now is running for president, clearly stated to Pat Toomey, who became a U.S. Senator, but at the Club for Growth, no trading with communist China. I made a movie about China becoming the real focal point in 2011. It's called Fixing America. It's a Fixing America movie.com, or just go to Amazon and type in Fixing America, Steve Laffey. It's a well-received documentary. And here's the thing about me, Jackson. I've been consistently right about China. When Marco Rubio said it wasn't a problem, when other people said, don't worry about it, I said, you're wrong. How did I know they were wrong? There's never been an indication that by giving someone a trade deal, they change from communism to democracy. Not happening. Communist to communist. So what has to happen now to strengthen our relationship with allies is to continue to move away from communist China to the point where we don't really trade with them. Will we still buy t-shirts or something? Probably so. But I've been saying this consistently for a long time. And we need to have incentives to bring all this stuff back. I'll give you an example. Harvard Business School, 1985, I'm in production operation management class. I'm 23 years old. They talk about just-in-time inventory, which is all the thing back then. Japan's taken over the world. We got to copy Japan. I'm like, what if we don't have the stuff we need? And people are like, what? What if you keep the inventory so low, we don't have the stuff we need? So this is what's happening in America. We've got to bring, and by the way, it's going to happen anyway. We're going to be bringing this globalization back. It's not, globalization's over, folks. We're going to bring it all back to North America. The world is changing rapidly. Why wouldn't the president be the leader on it? Like, why are they always fighting their way backwards? Like, it's happening. It's going to happen. The pharmaceutical drugs, 90+% of the ingredients are in China. The talking nation, this is what I call people like Tom Cotton, wonderful people. They talk, and they talk about bringing pharmaceuticals back. Jackson, there's no bill to do so. They talk about something else. I laser focus on issues. So when it comes to China, we've got to be much more united with India, Australia, Japan. By the way, it's starting to happen anyway, because these countries know that China's the threat. So it's happening. We just got to accentuate it and we'll be fine.
Let's move to the border. What do you think of the crisis at the border? Also, your thoughts on the wall.
The wall should be completed. I don't know why President Trump said he completed. Again, he didn't do it. What I don't like about everybody is excuses. There's always some excuse about why things don't get done. It seems like my Republican brethren say, oh, President Trump was a great president. And again, I'm not a never Trumper. Okay, I love the judges. I thought it was a brilliant marketing tactic in 2016, and I said so then. I love deregulation. I think it's great. But Mexico's a real problem. And Mexico's our largest trading partner, by the way. So we've got to work really hard with the Mexican government to make sure that that country doesn't, one, turn south on us, and two, we've got to make sure that people are not coming to this country. It's a grave problem because, listen, immigration in the old days, when people came to Staten Island, let's say, right, there was no welfare system. But when you combine this immigration, illegal immigration, with the welfare system in public schools and this and that, what we have is basically a disaster for everybody. Now, the people coming aren't all criminals, but our border's too porous. All it takes, and by the way, I not only have been to the border, I've been across the border in a relatively dangerous situation with Dr. Robin Hoover. I've seen this. And if it could be explained to the American people the way I see it, where young ladies are being raped every night, people would get the message. We ignore the human plight that has to stop. The other thing, focus on the southern countries more than the Palestinians, for example. I mean, all we hear about is Palestinians. When was the last time you heard something about Guatemala? When was the last time you heard something about Ecuador? Jackson, you haven't heard anything about these countries. Let's focus on these countries and help them become democracies, because then, one, we got friends. Two, we've got trading partners, right? That's where the focus should be. And that's what I would do as president. But these are, by the way, to say it's a simple thing like some people say, it's not. Americans have to stop doing cocaine, number one. You want to fix the border? People have to take some self-responsibility, Jackson. Young people, they're not going to do drugs. A president should be able to speak to this at the very least, but it's a real problem because a lot of this stuff has to do with drugs.
How do you persuade the other side to vote for you? Maybe someone's watching this who voted for President Biden and they're not happy with what they see. They don't know about a Republican. How do you bring people to the other side?
Yeah, I think I present a much less threatening way than in the way I talk than many people. And I think that you try to find ways to, at the beginning of anything, to unite yourself with people from the other side. One would certainly be an education. And I think the example of my children, my 6 children, um, would be one way. I mean, how I've raised them, they can see them. Um, I have a 15-year-old college sophomore, the youngest ever admitted in the Colorado State University at the age of 12. I got a 17-year-old college sophomore. There are other ways to do this, but it's sometimes just about the way you speak and the way I speak. And I want to repeat this so everybody hears this clearly. I am running for the younger people in my programs. Every single one of them are about young people getting more and us older people giving up something. But believe me, I don't placate people. I don't have this bone where it's like, well, I didn't mean that. No, we, the older generation, have taken too much from the people who are under 40, and we got to give some back. That's why my Social Security plan, SteveLaffey.com, is what it is. I hope, I pray that the people in the middle, the suburban housewife who doesn't know how she's going to vote, at least says, that guy Laffey, he's got these kids. They seem pretty good. That guy Laffey, he likes it. He wants to get my kid a better education. That guy Laffey, my son is 30. I'm a Democrat, but he's right. My son can't not get it. Social Security. He makes $100,000. He's putting in $12,000. That's the moral problem. When you hear Donald Trump say we're not going to touch Social Security, that's fiscally immoral. So I think we can unite people over a plan. And by the way, if someone has a better plan, I'm all in. But the plan of Bernie Sanders, let's raise taxes on everybody to infinity, that ain't never happened. These are things that people just say, Jackson, right? The plan where I hope I get out of office. This is what most people, Jackson, you don't know this yet. Young people didn't know this. I know a lot of these people. The whole thing is a game of musical chairs. People who say they don't want to touch Social Security, like, I hope I get out before the whole thing collapses. That's what they're doing. How do I even know this? I saw it happen in Cranston, Rhode Island. The mayor thought he could put an extra $25 million into a pension obligation bond. I called him out. He was never seen from again. He didn't even run for re-election. I ran against somebody else. The musical chairs game ended for him, and it's going to end in the next year for a lot of people. Not me. I haven't been in government. That's my positive.
Any final messages or thoughts you want to share?
Yes, Jackson, at the very beginning, you hit on my problem, the chicken and the egg problem. While the most qualified person is not the least known, but the fourth best known of the Republican candidates, let's say, right? We've got to flip that. You can help. Go to SteveLaffey.com. Just watch some videos. Go on Twitter. Watch what I do. Go to Substack at SteveLaffey.com. Watch it. You make a decision because it's your job to figure out who you should vote for. All these things can change quickly. Jimmy Carter, November of 1975, was a total unknown. But you know what? Because he was the right man for the times after Watergate, the cleanest guy, he became president. I am the right man, could be woman, for the times. We have a fiscal crisis, a financial disaster. It's right in front of us. I'm the only one with complete solutions to solve it, especially to help young people. That's me, SteveLaffey.com.
All right, well, Steve Laffey, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you agreeing to come and talk.
Jackson, keep doing what you're doing. You're great. You're well-spoken. I love it with you seriously, people like you give me hope. There's days where you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Then I come on with you and I well-spoken young man, dressed well, speak. You keep going, I'll keep going, and we'll meet again.
Best of luck with your campaign. We'll check in again soon.
Thank you, sir.
For more on Steve Laffey, you can visit his website. We'll see you next time.